Hello BookTube and welcome back to Read Becca. Today we're going to do the 1001 Books tag. This is an original tag by Sandy at Miss Reads a Lot, and she did this months ago. I wanted to do it right away when it came out, and then I was so backlogged. So it kind of worked in my favor because fortuitously John from Hey Y'all Listen Up tagged me a couple weeks ago, so I'm finally actually tagged to do it. So let's jump right into the tag. The first prompt is 1001 lists. Do you follow any book lists? It can be a prize list or a challenge like the Rory Gilmore challenge. I don't. I'm obviously reading for the BookTube prize this year. I don't typically really follow it because it seems to be more to the tastes of niche readers who are reading kind of the popular stuff in each of the areas. But it's a very interesting list, and I've kind of always been a fan of hearing about it and people's thoughts about each of the year's lists. So that's interesting, but I wouldn't say I really follow that one. I enjoy hearing about the prize list, like the Women's Prize and the International Booker have just come out. It's very exciting, but I'm not targeting reading those. I think the closest I come is probably the Hugo, which is a sci-fi and fantasy award. Last year I tried to read everything from the novel and novella categories, and I really enjoyed it. It tends to be very similar to my taste, so I really like trying to do that. But I wouldn't say I specifically try to do that every year. I just really felt like all of the books were a good fit for me that particular year. So it varies from year to year. 1001 books. Approximately how many physical books do you currently own, and how many ebooks? So, appropriate to this prompt, we are over 1,000 books now. So last year when I counted, I was at I think 960 something, and I bought 90 books over the course of the year last year. So I'm definitely over 1,000 at this point. In terms of ebooks, I have a little over 500, and most of the ebooks that I get free, either like self-published books are given away a lot. They'll be on like a flash deal for free for a couple days, and so I get them that way, or giveaways, the Tor book club, that sort of thing where you get a free book every so often. So I've got 500 free books, and I have only read about 40 of them, so I need to get into that backlog, and I do have a priority to do that this year of getting into more of my self-published stuff. So yeah, I really need to get into some of those ebooks. 1001 books read. Approximately how many books have you read in your lifetime? Do you keep track? I do keep track in Goodreads, and I have read on there just over 1,000. So literally, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, I showed on here in my clips from my weekly updates that I had hit 1,000 there, and that is compiled from when I joined around 2012, and also some additional data that was backlog that I had in a written journal from college, I think. And so I have that a couple decades, but I don't have any of my childhood. And that really kind of bumps me out because I was a voracious reader as a child. I read hundreds of books per year. I was that kid who had really bad insomnia and would just read for a couple days straight. So yeah, I read so much. You know, I did the summer reading program several times and would have like 100 books over just the summer. So that was very, very common. And yeah, I wish I had those records, but definitely within the past couple decades that I do have recorded, I'm over 1,000 now. 1001 Arabian Nights. Have you read any stories from the Arabian Nights? Do you have a favorite? And if you haven't read it, do you want to? Yeah, I would like to read through start to finish at some point. I think I have read some of the stories because growing up I wasn't really allowed to read fantasy, and so my hack to get around that was that I read everything from the fairy tales and folklore shelves at the library. Some reason that was okay. Even the Grimms, I've read the Grimms, and those are like super dark and graphic. But I do think there were some of the Arabian Nights stories collected in there, but I don't recall reading the actual 1001 Arabian Nights. 1001 flavors. Do you have a favorite food or flavor? I think probably cheese. I have obvious problems with the manufacturing of cheese, and kind of the process to get there is not the greatest. And I'm lactose intolerant, so I really shouldn't eat a ton of cheese, but man, I just love cheese. Give me plain cheese, charcuterie board, pizza, absolutely, you know, anything that's a delivery system for cheese. In fact, holidays. Usually I try to eat very healthy over holidays. It's quite easy to do, really, because you have a lot of options in terms of vegetables or even lean meat usually, but mac and cheese is my go-to for really splurging and really indulging myself at a holiday meal. It's always mac and cheese. 1001 pages. Have you read a book that is over 1001 pages? Is there one you recommend, and is it worth the time? What's the longest book you've read? I do not know what the longest book I've read is. I didn't bother to check, but I do know I've read Count of Monte Cristo. That came up, I think, all over the place in these videos, so skipping past that one, for sure, Wheel of Time. That I've read up through, I think, book 9, and several of those are over 1,000 pages, so we'll say that. Count of Monte Cristo, definitely worth it. Wheel of Time, maybe worth it. I don't know anymore. I'm not that big a fan of the series. It's definitely very big epic fantasy, and I just don't read very much of that anymore. 1001 buckets. Do you have a non-bookish bucket list, and what is one thing on the list? Nope, I do not. 1001 numbers. Do you have a lucky number? Is there a story behind it? No, no lucky numbers. 1001 authors. Do you have a favorite author and or genre? I have. My favorite authors are all back here. I have a tour of my favorites shelf, which is this shelf. We've got Ursula Le Guin on the whole top shelf here, and then Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett over here. So yeah, those are my favorite authors. I would say Ursula is the top. 1001 activities. Do you have a favorite outdoor activity? I don't really know. I used to love running. I did 5K, 10K, half marathon distance running for several years, and I was doing 4 or 5 races a year in terms of the half marathon distance. So I love that. I love doing adventure races. Those are so fun, like the Warrior Dash, that sort of thing. I don't know. I really like stand-up paddleboarding, or I used to. I've actually done that in the ocean, which is great fun because I'm terrified of deep water. So yeah, it was good. Let's see, 1001 book clubs. That is just a question about starting her book club, and she's already done it. And sadly, I have not been able to participate, mainly because BookTube Rise so far. And then tag some friends. So I'm not going to tag 10 friends because I think almost everybody has done it, but I am going to tag On the Same Page, who is a new channel this year, so was not around for when this went all over the place with everybody. And you should definitely check her out. She's a very small channel, less than 50 subscribers, I think, at this point, and really eclectic reader, very analytical about her reading. So I would really implore you to check out On the Same Page. So that's it for the tag. If you haven't done this, you can consider yourself tagged for it as well. So just say I tagged you. Thanks so much for watching, and I will link the questions and all of those channels down below as usual. Thanks for watching.